Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 375 based on novel. So let's start. The young man's eyes were filled with madness and a bad feeling filled his body. His body turned cold as he rushed down the mountain. Going up the mountain was hard, and going down was even harder. As he rushed, he immediately fell, leaving many bruises on his body and making him bleed. However, the young man ignored everything and continued to rush down. It must be just a fire, it must be just a fire. Nothing happened, nothing happened. The young man's body trembled as he rushed down like crazy. The medicine basket on his back trembled and some herbs even fell out, but the young man ignored it all as he rushed down. Along the way, he fell several times, and one time a branch opened a large wound in his right leg. However, he ignored it, and anxiety filled his eyes. After a long time, the young man reached the base of the mountain while gasping for air. He rushed down the path to the village. His heart was trembling and fear filled his body. Nothing is going to happen, nothing is going to happen. The young man's heart seemed to scream, almost begging. Everything before him was a blur aside from the road below his feet. He used all his strength to arrive at the main road outside the village. He only needed to travel half a kilometer more to see the village. However, although he couldn't see the village, he could see the monstrous fire. He could also vaguely hear mournful cries. The mournful cries were heaven shaking, enough to cause the earth to tremble. Little sister. The young man quickly ran forward. Just at this moment, the trembling from the road became even more violent, and more than 10 horses rushed over. Some of the vicious men riding them had messy clothes, and their evil laughter could be heard. Ha ha, I didn't expect this little village to have so many beautiful women. If not for having to complete the Lord's task, I would have really wanted to take a few. Yes, especially that bride, she was very good. These more than 10 horses quickly passed by the young man. One of the burly men immediately raised his whip and lashed the young man to side of the road. Little bastard, you dare to block our horse gang's path? Scram to the side. The young man's body trembled and he let out a miserable scream. A powerful force slammed into his body and he was knocked out. The more than 10 horses passed, their laughter echoing. Time passed and night fell. The cold wind blew by. The young man on the side of the road trembled as he slowly opened his eyes. Confusion filled his eyes, and his face was ashen. He struggled to stand up. He muttered to himself and staggered as he ran toward the village. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen to little sister. Nothing. After a long time, the already burnt village appeared before the young man under the moonlight. The young man trembled as he stared at the village before him in fear. He let out a miserable cry as he ran forward. Little sister. Little sister. Little Lan. As he ran, the young man entered the village. The pungent smell of smoke still remained. The thick smell of blood still lingered in the air. On the ground, aside from dark blood, there were corpses with open eyes that looked up at the dark sky. This sight aroused an intense pain that drilled into his heart and almost made him collapse. These corpses were all people he was extremely familiar with. A majority of the surrounding houses had been burnt. Only the bright sedan was not burnt. Compared to the burnt houses, its bright color was too shocking. The young man bit his lower lip. His body trembled and he was filled with indescribable panic as he walked into the burnt house next to the sedan. A body had fallen there. It was Tiger. Beside Tiger was the body of a woman. It was Tiger's sister, Hong Hong. The young man almost collapsed as he trembled while walking deeper into the room. He saw his little sister. The burnt room still had a few beams standing, and a piece of white silk tied around the neck of a miserable, female corpse was hanging from the beams. The female corpse was a mess and blood was coming out of her orifices. Her eyes were filled with confusion as she looked into the distance, waiting for her loved one. The young man looked at the female corpse and coughed out a mouthful of blood. Little sister. His mournful voice echoed through the night of this desolate and death-filled village. It lingered for a long time. Don't cry, little Lan, be good. Big brother won't sleep anymore. I'll get that purple orchid for you, okay, so don't cry anymore. Little Lan, this is the 100th time you've asked me where Mom and Dad went. Didn't Big Brother tell you they went somewhere far away? They will catch up, watch Lan Lan grow up, and watch Lan Lan get married. Don't cry. Ah. Since you don't like Tiger, then forget it. Big Brother isn't after Tiger's big sister like you say. Big Brother's dream is going to become an immortal. Little Lan, wait for your Big Brother. When I'm successful, I'll come back and help you and Tiger live forever. When you get married, Big Brother will prepare a lot of dowry for you so you will get married in style. The young man shed tears of blood as he fell. He looked at his little sister with his hollow eyes. Several days later, the young man buried all the corpse in the village and buried his sister alone up in the mountain. It was very high up and there were lot of purple orchids flowering there. If one sat in the flower field, they would see the whole world. His little sister hadn't died from abuse, she had hung herself. The young man kept the piece of white silk she had hung herself with. For a moment, he felt that his little sister's soul was inside this white silk. When he left the village, he looked back and took out the white silk. A voice as pretty as a bell echoed in his ears. Big Brother. Big Brother, wake up. Look over there, there is a bunch of purple orchids. Big Brother, where did Father and Mother go? Lan Lan misses them. Big Brother. The young man bit his lower lip until it bled, and a few drops of blood fell down onto the white silk. After it spread out, it turned into a plum flower shape. Horse gang. There was monstrous hatred inside the young man's eyes as he walked further and further into the distance. Big Brother, I'll wait for you to come back. Time passed, and in a flash decades went by. The talent of the young man was beyond his own imagination. Although it wasn't the best, it was still shocking. He had entered the heaven-breaking sect, and with the determination an ordinary person wouldn't have, he became the leader among the junior generation. In the horse gang's base, a total of 1,400 members were killed in one rainy night. No one was spared. Even the horses were slaughtered. About 7 or 8 of the old members suffered the most before their deaths. The pain they suffered wasn't inflicted through ordinary means, and they howled for almost half a month before they finally died. Their souls had been extracted and they had suffered from being refined, unable to enter the reincarnation cycle. However, Sima Mo still felt pain similar to needles stabbing through his heart. The culprits that had assaulted his little sister had died many years ago. From using Soul Search, he had found that the culprit hadn't experienced much suffering, and he was unwilling to let this go. After returning to the sect, another 100 years passed. Sima Mo had reached the nascent soul stage and had become the strongest among the younger generation. He caught the eye of the heaven-breaking sect's sect master and was accepted as the sect master's disciple. In the winter, Sima Mo descended from the sect once more. He used a spell to calculate the reincarnation of the culprit and began a slaughter. What kind of hatred could cause someone to hunt down the culprit even after the culprit had already died and gone through the reincarnation cycle? Time passed. Wang Lin saw all of this inside Master Simo's memory. He silently pondered. He also saw tens of thousands of years later, when Master Simo watched his fellow sect members die in the seven-colored realm. His body was hit by the seven-colored nail and he was taken away by the sovereign. I, Sima Mo, although kicked from the heaven-breaking sect, am a member of the inner realm. How could I become the dog of the outer realm? How could I give up everything just to survive and give in to the temptation of reaching the third step? If I die, I die. An ancient voice came from the world and entered Sima Mo's mind. Not only can this old man prevent you from dying, I can even reform your sister. I can't bring her back to life, but I can allow her to stay by your side for an eternity. If your cultivation is successful, perhaps you will meet someone who can resurrect her. If you die now, everything will be gone. Sima Mo's mind trembled. Come with this old man. From now on, you're no longer the inner realm's Sima Mo, but this old man the sovereign's subordinate. I give you the name Master Simo. Inside the Emperor Furnace, Master Simo's eyes were a blur as tears fell. The nail-sized fire between his eyebrows gradually spread and occupied his forehead. Outside the Emperor Furnace, Wang Lin was sitting on top of the furnace. He opened his eyes under the gazes of the surrounding cultivators. His eyes were filled with confusion. After a long time, Wang Lin let out a sigh and stood up. He stepped forward and waved his hand. The Emperor Furnace trembled and dissipated. Master Simo's figure was revealed. Wang Lin didn't deliberately leave anything in Master Simo's memory, but he left some thoughts. He had given up on refining Master Simo. This refining perhaps wouldn't succeed as Master Simo still had many treasures. This battle would have no purpose if it continued. Master Simo stood in the air and pondered for a long time. He waved his right hand and the woman disappeared into his sleeve. With Master Simo's cultivation level, he vaguely realized what had just happened. He looked at Wang Lin with an extremely complicated gaze. Please tell me. Was her word from before? From your spell or? I also don't know. Wang Lin let out a sigh. If I was Sima Mo and his sister was Wn how would I choose? Wang Lin was afraid to think of the answer. Maybe it would be the same answer he had given Sima Mo, or he already had the answer. Master Simo left. Grandmaster Yun Luo went with him, and the two of them disappeared from the Great Emperor planet before Wang Lin's eyes. There was no result in this battle. It was outside the expectations of all the cultivators here, including the old vermilion bird. However, with his powerful cultivation, he had vaguely noticed some things. Although this was the case, it wouldn't hinder the rise of Wang Lin's prestige in the Fallen Land. In the eyes of the cultivators here, just the battle was already enough for them to see Wang Lin as someone who could face a third-step cultivator. The Fallen Elder selection that had been interrupted continued, but none of this was related to Wang Lin anymore. In the Fallen Land, the abandoned planet Liu Jinbiao and Shu Ligua were on had been carefully searched by the people of the Fire Sparrow clan. For the Fire Sparrow clan, the trial being held on the Great Emperor planet was a wonderful opportunity for them. As they carefully searched, the Fire Sparrow clan found Liu Jinbiao, who was in closed-door cultivation in the deepest part of the planet, and his guardian, Shu Ligua. After a vicious battle, Liu Jinbiao was captured and secretly sent out from the Fallen Land to meet with the Fire Sparrow clan's ancestor, who was waiting outside. Liu Jinbiao's expression was gloomy and he didn't speak at all. However, he gave off the aura of the master of a generation. An invisible aura from someone who had held power for a long time and could kill thousands of people with just one word. When Liu Jinbiao was brought out from the Fallen Land, the ancestor of the Fire Sparrow clan, who had carefully stayed outside and didn't dare to enter, revealed a look of ecstasy. He took a step forward, ignoring the worship of the Fire Sparrow clan, and his right palm turned into fire that directly slammed down on Liu Jinbiao. Liu Jinbiao's expression didn't become panicked. His eyes contained an ancient gaze as he coldly stared at the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. His calm gaze caused the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor's mind to tremble. This aura and pressure only belong to someone who has held power for a long time. If this person really is the vermilion bird, he should be like this. With a cold snort, the ancestor's right hand landed on Liu Jinbiao's body. Fire rushed into his body, and after the fire swept through, he frowned. Liu Jinbiao sneered and said, "Little Fire Sparrow clan, you sneak attack me when this old man is seriously injured. Just like your ancestor, mere clowns." The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor's eyes lit up and some of this doubt dissipated. When he checked Liu Jinbiao's body, he found that there wasn't much fire inside. When he heard Liu Jinbiao's words, although some of his doubt had faded, it wasn't enough. He waved his right hand and a wound appeared on Liu Jinbiao's right hand, and a large amount of blood flowed out. This blood was taken by the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor and he formed it into a ball. After smelling it, joy appeared in his eyes, and after hesitating a bit, he devoured it. When the blood entered his stomach, it turned into a powerful fire force that erupted inside his body. An illusion immediately appeared behind the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. A fire bird filled with fire opened its wings, and before it was a smaller vermilion bird. This vermilion bird seemed seriously injured and was blurry. After fighting with the firebird for a while, the firebird devoured the vermilion bird. After devouring the vermilion bird, the fire around the firebird erupted and it began to change. It became more and more like the vermilion bird. Good. It indeed is a vermilion bird. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor was filled with ecstasy. He laughed as his right hand landed on Liu Jinbiao's head. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor's cultivation level was extremely high, so he was naturally cautious and paranoid. After testing several times, although he was sure, he still used the soul search spell. In his view, everything in this world could be false, only soul search was true. Fire rushed toward his right hand, which was on top of Liu Jinbiao's head, and he began soul searching. Memories flashed across his mind, and a moment later, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor revealed a satisfied smile. Although there were still some doubts, this person was definitely the 6th-generation vermilion bird. He waved his sleeve and took Liu Jinbiao away. In a flash, they disappeared without a trace as he used a powerful spell to bring Liu Jinbiao back to the Fire Sparrow clan headquarters. The moment the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor took Liu Jinbiao away, Wang Lin, who was sitting next to the lake the old vermilion bird was fishing the dragon in, suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes shined brightly. Liu Jinbiao's Tao of Deception is really brilliant, even the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor has been cheated. Now I need to prepare and wait for Liu Jinbiao to be brought into the Fire Sparrow clan's holy land. Wang Lin's eyes shined as his hands formed seals and restrictions surrounded his body. More and more restrictions appeared until they formed a formation around him. This formation had the ability to teleport Wang Lin away using a special method. At dusk, Wang Lin opened his eyes and calmly said, "Ancestor, Junior has a servant in the fallen land named Zhong Big Red. I hope can take care of him on my behalf." The old vermilion bird was sitting beside the lake with a fishing rod in his hand and a jug of wine placed beside him. After hearing Wang Lin's words, he looked back with kindness in his eyes. "Are you ready?" Wang Lin nodded. "There are still a few more treasures to refine, then I just need to wait for the other side to activate the formation." The old vermilion bird put down the fishing rod and took a drink from the jug. Then he said, "I have already passed the method of controlling the fire dragon to you. It will be extremely dangerous once you leave. I don't know when we will meet again. If you have any other requests, you can ask." Wang Lin silently pondered and looked at the old vermilion bird. Although Wang Lin had only known him for a few days, the old vermilion bird had selflessly helped him and protected him, which made Wang Lin feel warmth. Now that they were going to part, Wang Lin felt sadness. When the old vermilion bird saw Wang Lin pondering, the kindness in his eyes became even stronger and he smiled. "If there is a chance, the two of us will meet again. Don't be unwilling to leave, like a child. I hope that you can shock me again next time we meet." Wang Lin looked at the old vermilion bird before taking a deep breath and saying, "Ancestor, Junior wants the cultivation method of the ancient soul restriction from the arena." "You want that ancient soul restriction?" The old vermilion bird pondered a bit and slowly said, "The ancient soul restriction is something the 1st-generation ancestor stole. Even I don't have the cultivation method. Forget it, I'll just give it to you to protect yourself. If you have the time, you can study it and perhaps, with your comprehension, you can learn something." As the old vermilion bird spoke, his right hand reached at the sky. The earth far away rumbled and the sky changed colors. Clouds scattered and a ghostly light flashed. A giant tortoise beast appeared in the sky. The tortoise had an indifferent gaze as it lowered its head to look down at the old vermilion bird. The old vermilion bird formed a seal and pointed at it. The giant tortoise lit up and began to shrink. The smaller it got, the brighter it became. Soon, the giant tortoise turned into a palm-sized tortoise shell. The ghostly light was like moonlight, and it shrouded the sky. With wave of his hand, the old vermilion bird sent the tortoise shell toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin took it and put it away after looking at it. He clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird and was about to speak when he was interrupted by the old vermilion bird. "You don't need to thank me. How can an elder giving their junior something require the junior's thanks? If you're really grateful, help this old man with something." The old man let out a dry cough as he spoke. "Please speak, ancestor. As long as Junior can do it, I'll get it done." Wang Lin's voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with determination. The old vermilion bird's face turned red as he put down the fishing rod and rubbed his hands together. "Your vermilion bird has awakened 4 times, and you're already qualified to give out the vermilion bird mark. This old man hopes that when you chose the 7th-generation vermilion bird, this Wang Lin looked at the old vermilion bird, waiting for him to finish speaking. You have to pick a good candidate. You can't pick one without self-restraint, do you understand? The old vermilion bird winked. Wang Lin frowned and didn't understand too much. After pondering a bit, he nodded and said, "Ancestor can rest assured. When Junior picks the 7th generation vermilion bird, I'll be very careful to not let the matter with the 3rd generation vermilion bird happen again." This old man doesn't mean this. The old vermilion bird rubbed his hands as he gnashed his teeth. This old man means that when you picked the 7th generation vermilion bird, you can't pick a flirtatious individual. Alas, why don't you understand? Isn't your comprehension pretty high? Wang Lin was startled for a moment and nodded with a puzzled look. Okay, Junior will not choose someone too flirtatious as the 7th generation vermilion bird. After all, it is not good to be too greedy for beauty as a cultivator. The old vermilion bird's eyes widened and he shouted, "It's not about being too greedy for beauty, he can't covet for any beauties at all." Alas, where did all your comprehension go? Do you have to make this old man say it directly? Okay, you better choose the 7th generation vermilion bird from children to save the effort of his origin soul's yang being broken, which would make him unable to cultivate this old man's cultivation method. That's right, pick a child, and the next time you come, bring him here. Remember to make sure his origin soul's yang hasn't been broken. It's not me scolding you, but look at you. You're so young, and not even at this old man's cultivation level. You have to know that over the countless years, not a bit of my origin soul's yang has dissipated. I really don't understand juniors like you. What's so good about duo cultivation? This old man has never duo cultivated with anyone, yet I am energetic every day, not to mention how happy I am. Wang Lin was startled for a moment as he stared at the old vermilion bird. He was left speechless and could only nod with a wry smile. The old vermilion bird let out a big sigh in his heart. He had put all his hopes on Wang Lin. After seeing Wang Lin nod, the old vermilion bird coughed and said, "This old man's spell can only display its full power when used by someone who kept their origin soul's yang. It's not that I have some sort of special hobby. This old man won't make you help you for nothing. I'll teach you a spell. This is one of the 3 strongest spells of my vermilion bird clan. It was passed down by the ancient celestial sovereign. Although your origin soul's yang is broken, you can still cultivate it. This spell is too powerful and will burn your lifespan, so don't use it carelessly, but it should be able to save your life. Remember, unless it is absolutely needed, don't use this spell." The old vermilion bird looked extremely serious. After he finished speaking, he took a deep breath and formed a strange seal with his hands. As the seal appeared, ethereal fire came from the old vermilion bird's eyebrows and entered the seal. This caused the seal to flash red, and they fused together to form a fire bone about 10 feet long. It might not be appropriate to call it a bone. It was like a stick, but it was very smooth. The moment this fire bone appeared, the old vermilion bird's eyes became serious. His hands formed more seals and thin lines began to appear. They didn't surround the fire bone but extended out from its tip. The object that was formed by the old vermilion bird's spell looked rather strange. If you spread some oil paper between the lines, it would look extremely similar to the umbrellas used by mortals on rainy days. Wang Lin stared intently. He had seen the old vermilion bird create 2 different sets of seals. The first set was 999 seals in an instant. The second group was even more. He had created exactly 9,999 in a flash. Not a sliver of origin energy fluctuation was released, and the clouds hadn't scattered. The surroundings were extremely quiet. It was as if nothing had changed. After finishing the 2 sets of seals, the old vermilion bird became even more serious. He took a deep breath and his eyes revealed a strange light. Both his hands worked together to form seals, then a light began to spread out in all directions, penetrating the lake. The old vermilion bird's hands moved faster, and without a pause, seals appeared one by one. 1, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. So fast that they became a blur to the eye. The old vermilion bird's hands were so fast, it was impossible to see them with the naked eye, and if one used divine sense, it would be stopped by a mysterious force. The old vermilion bird let out a roar. The number of seals in his hands had already reached over 1 million. The 1 million seals appeared at the same time and formed a storm. This storm charged at the fire bone. In a flash, the storm fused with the fire bone and shot into the sky. Wang Lin took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. His pupils immediately shrank. The storm seemed to have formed a large umbrella that hadn't opened. Large amounts of fire formed countless fire dragons around it. The entire sky was occupied by fire dragons. They surrounded the umbrella and roared. This could be clearly seen from every part of the Great Emperor planet. Burning Realm Ancient Umbrella. The old vermilion bird let out a roar and the storm suddenly stopped rotating. It floated motionlessly in the air. An unspeakable pressure slowly descended from the sky. The vegetation bent and large amounts of water mist appeared. The fishes in the lake swam quickly and bubbles appeared on the furnace of the lake. Fine cracks appeared on the ground. All the cultivators that saw this felt like the blood in their bodies was about to dry up. The sky was covered in endless distortion, as if it couldn't withstand the storm. The distortion continued to spread until it covered almost half of the fallen land. All the planets that were shrouded in this showed signs that a great drought was coming. There were signs of the destruction that was to come. The old vermilion bird's breathing became a bit rough. It was obvious that it was a lot of stress on him to use this spell. The first group has 999 seals, the second group has 9,999 seals, and the third and fourth groups both have 990,000. You must form all these seals within 9 breaths of time. Each of the seals must contain your origin soul's yang energy. Then, with a special chant, you can form the strongest spell of my vermilion bird clan, Burning Realm Ancient Umbrella. If one mistake is made during any of the seals, the consequences will be unimaginable. Even with my mid-stage arcane void cultivation, I would still be seriously injured. If a non-fire cultivator made a mistake, they would likely die. This spell came from the ancient celestial sovereign. This old man once heard from the ancestor that back in the ancestor's hometown, the ancient celestial sovereign used this spell and destroyed an entire realm of 10 billion people. This is why it is called the Burning Realm. This was an extremely powerful spell in the hands of the ancient celestial sovereign. This old man doesn't know if this spell is a Dao spell, but the ancestor said that the umbrella could be opened 9 times, and a world would be destroyed each time. Back then, the ancient celestial sovereign opened the umbrella 8 times to destroy a realm. Not even he dared to open the umbrella a 9th time. The ancestor is at the early stage void turbulent and can only open it 5 times. As for this old man, due to my origin soul's yang remaining intact after tens of thousands of years, I can use my own yang to open it twice at the mid-stage of arcane void. I shouldn't be passing this spell to you, because it is too dangerous and one mistake would lead to disaster. The ancestor also said that the spell is incomplete as the ancient celestial emperor secretly learned this from someone else, but since your comprehension is so high, you can decide for yourself. The old vermilion bird's words echoed as Wang Lin stared at the umbrella in the sky. His mind was shaken by the old vermilion bird's word. He originally thought the old vermilion bird would pass him a Dao spell. He could had never have expected to learn a spell that contained unimaginable power. Opening the umbrella 8 times can destroy a world with 10 billion people. Can this still be considered a spell? The old vermilion bird's breathing became even more rapid. He waved his hand and the storm that stopped trembled and began to dissipate. I can only let you see this and can't open it. If it were to open, it would cause great damage here. The old vermilion bird bit the top of his tongue and spat out blood containing his mid-stage arcane void cultivation toward the storm. The blood turned into a monstrous mist that fused with the storm and gradually made it disappear. It wasn't until 7 minutes later that the storm disappeared. The Great Emperor planet gradually returned to normal and the distortion also slowly recovered. Although this didn't last long, it had made Wang Lin's scalp go numb, and his eyes lit up. Although the spell hadn't been activated, Wang Lin had gotten a general feel for it. Wang Lin's heart was pounding. The old vermilion bird only relaxed when the world returned to normal. He waved his hand and a jade flew out from the void toward Wang Lin. This jade contains all the seals and the method to open the umbrella. Quickly memorize it, and once there are no mistakes, destroy the jade. After the old vermilion bird finished speaking, he sat down, closed his eyes, and began to cultivate. Wang Lin accepted the jade and stared at it. The scene of the old vermilion bird displaying the spell appeared in his mind. Wang Lin was tempted. In his lifetime, he was rarely tempted by spells or treasures. He had cultivated restrictions all his life and was a grandmaster at them. For ordinary people, forming nearly 2 million seals was a very difficult task. This was indeed the truth, and 9 breaths was too short. However, when Wang Lin was at the core formation stage, he was already used to forming seals very fast. Some restrictions could only be placed or broken in an instant, so large amounts of seals needed to be formed during a short period of time. The first threshold that most people faced was not that difficult for Wang Lin. What really shocked Wang Lin was what the old vermilion bird had revealed about the Burning Realm ancient umbrella, from the ancient celestial sovereign. So it is from the ancient celestial emperor who secretly learned it. It is not complete. Wang Lin took a deep breath, and there was a flash of terror in his eyes. If this sentence was true, then the meaning of it was simply too shocking. This spell. Who the hell created it? Where did the ancient celestial emperor secretly learn this? If just the stolen, incomplete spell is enough to destroy a realm, what if it was complete? Wang Lin raised his head and silently looked up at the sky. He faintly felt as if he was a mortal looking at the sky, and he felt very small. What does my current cultivation level count as? Just how big is this world? What is outside this world? After a moment, Wang Lin took a deep breath and determination filled his eyes. The more he knew, the smaller he felt. But Wang Lin didn't give up. Instead, it ignited the defying will in his heart. I can as well. I, Wang Lin, can as well. Why can't I, Wang Lin, do it as well? In the world, some people chose to be mortal, some became celestials, some were below others. All things were different. There were great injustices in this world, but at the same time, it was extremely fair. Since someone can create this kind of spell and cultivate to such an unimaginable degree, then I, Wang Lin, can do the same. Although my talent is lacking, it won't be able to become the stone that trips me. Today I learned the Burning Realm spell, which was created by someone else and was later stolen by the ancient celestial emperor. In the future, I want others to learn my spells. Wang Lin's expression was filled with determination. He didn't roar or cry. Only his silent words echoed in his heart. Perhaps this was his ambition. Wang Lin closed his hands and his mind entered the jade. He engraved the countless seals in his mind, as well as the method for opening the umbrella. The jade turned into ashes in his hand and was blown away by the wind. The ashes that flew away represented Wang Lin's ambition as it flew higher and higher. This video will end here.